So hey guys, today I'm going to share my journey through F1 visa to OPT, which is work permit, and then finally to H1B visa, which I'm still going through as well, so that you can get to know the struggles and the travel bans you have to go through along the process. So let's get started. So starting with OPT, after you switch from F1 visa to OPT. So this is a little bit boring information, but stay with me. I'm going to give you a lot of examples as well. So OPT is an off-campus work authorization, an opportunity to work off campus as a software engineer, or if you're a math major, maybe as a professor, teacher, but it has to be related to your major. So for example, I'm currently working as a software engineer, and it can be of 1 year, which is known as post completion OPT, and it can be for up to 3 years if you have a STEM major. For example, currently most of the MBA programs are also considered STEM, and most of you guys who are coming in like nursing, mathematics, engineering, physics, chemistry, math, it's going to be STEM as well. So you can get up to 3 years of work authorization or work permit to stay in the United States to work. So now let's move on with the EAD card. So whenever you apply for OPT, then you get a work permit as a card. It just looks like green card EAD or OPT EAD. They look pretty similar, but they are just an identification which you have to give to your employer that yes, I can legally work for you. Now move on. So I personally spent around $500 to get OPT, so it is a bit expensive. So you have to save $500 when you graduate. So these are the most important informations. Now talking about the requirements, and these are just boring stuff. I know you must have done it. You pay the fees on time, and you're 100% sure that I, Harnoor, or I so-and-so is graduating in May 2020, December 2020, or May 2021. So you must know that I am willing to graduate and discontinue my student. There's a service which is associated with you carrying a student status. So you are willing to know that I'm stopping my I-20 at this date, I-20 which you got when you came as a student, at this date, so that you will no more have a student status. So moving on, that you are also willing to wait for 2 to 5 months for the approval of OPT as well. So let's get started with an example. So talking about my personal timeline, so I graduated on 5th May. And then after graduating, I knew that the earliest date to apply for work permit is 5th Feb because it cannot be before 3 months. So I thought 5th Feb is right time because I wanted to be on first come basis, because आप जल्दी apply करोगे. If you will apply early, you will get it early as well. So that's the reason when I applied on 5th Feb, and I specified that my starting date should be 4th July. Even though my employer told me that you can start working on 6th July, because the date, there's another requirement here, the date has to be up to 2 months after your graduation date. So for example, I graduated on 5th May. The date when the OPT starts, it cannot be later than 5th of July. So it has to be before. So I specified it at 4th July. And then luckily everything was going on time. So I got my OPT, my work permit, on 5th of April. And I feel very lucky that everything went on time because it was in the middle of pandemic. And a lot of my friends, if I give you examples, it took 3 to 4 months. And in one case, I also remember it took 5 months in 2019. But I think in 2020, mostly the maximum duration I've seen is 4 months. So you have to be prepared. They also said 3 to 5 months. So, but my case was special because since I applied at a time when I think not a lot of people were applying, so I got it within 2 months. So first come basis. And I actually started working on 13 July because it was delayed because of pandemic, and a lot of people were getting late. And let me tell you one more thing that I kept in mind while applying for OPT. So let's say that even though my starting date was 6th July, and if the offer is like rescinded or denied on maybe 1st of July, they say that you cannot work, we are just taking off the offer letter, then I will have 2 months to find a job. So because my start date on OPT is around 4th of July, so I have, I think, 2 months to find another job. But if I had applied for OPT without an offer letter, so let's say that I was graduating on 5th May and I would have mentioned that I don't have an offer letter, and if I would have mentioned, please start my work permit on 6th of May as I'm graduating on 5th of May. In that case, if I would have lost my job on 4th of July, that is around the last few days to find a job on my OPT, then it would have been crazy. Then I would have to just leave country. So that's why just be very sure when you are having an offer letter. And in case you don't have an offer letter, it is recommended to extend your graduation date. So in that case, you will be given more time to, maybe you can research at your university, or you can take more classes or courses at your university, so that you have more time to find job and then apply for OPT only when you know that you have an offer letter to go and apply in that OPT process. But one more key thing to remember is OPT doesn't require you to send an offer letter. It's just recommended. It is not even recommended. You don't need an offer letter. I personally didn't, because I thought it will speed up the process. And now talking about the travel ban. So the travel ban happened with me when I applied for OPT, because when you apply for OPT, you tell your I-94. So in I-94, it is written that you came to United States last on this date. So that's why you're telling them, hey, I am in the US. And if you change that you're no more in the US, it can cause some issues. And even at the port of entry, they can maybe deny you to enter if you do not have your OPT, and considering that your education in the United States is complete. So that's why it is not recommended to travel from 5th of Feb to 5th of April in my case, but it could be different whenever you get your EAD card. Now moving on with the OPT documents. So every university will tell you this, but I just want to remind you that in this process, you need all your I-20s. So let's say you did internships at 4 companies or 4 times. I did internship, I think 4 or 5 times. So that's why I had 4 or 5 I-20s, the document which you get when you're coming to the US. So I had to keep all of that safe. And when you are applying for OPT, I will recommend to give an address which you know that where you will not lose that EAD card, because EAD card is so important. And I personally gave my university's international student department's address. I asked them, I'm giving your address because I think my EAD card will be safest in the university, and I can take it from university later, because you don't know if someone keeps outside the house and the package gets stolen or something. It can even get lost in the university whatever they say, concierge. So I just thought it will be safest at the university. And rest everything is pretty obvious. You need like $410 of money order. I did money order, or you can pay online. There's a link. And also you need 2 passport size photograph, which I think I spent $15, and including the mailing cost, it came out to be closer to $500. Anyways, now let's talk about the complications some of the students had to face in this OPT process. So I saw some of the students, even though they wrote W, but in the signature, it seemed like it's 2V. So that's why in the EAD card, it was 2 V's accidentally in their name. For example, the name could be Jaswinder or something like that. I don't remember the exact name, but he had 2V issue, and that's why he had to wait for 6 months to start working, because when his OPT got denied, he had to apply again, and the next OPT card or the EAD card came after 4-5 months. So it was a hassle. But anyways, and another complication is when it takes more than 3 months. So if it is delayed, so they will write down the starting date when they are issuing the EAD card. So let's say that you mention that I want to start working on 6th July, but they are actually making the EAD card on 6th December. They will actually write 6th December on that EAD card. So you don't have to worry about that. Now let's talk about the next step. So now finally, let's talk about the switch from OPT work permit to H1B visa, because H1B visa has a lot of advantages, because it is given for 3 years and it can be extended to 6 years, and it keeps on renewing if your green card is applied. It is not that secure, but it is still secure as compared to OPT, because you know that you can stay in US for a bit longer and you can maybe plan to buy a house, car, etc. So anyways, one thing you have to keep in mind in this switch is your taxes are going to increase. So for example, if you're making $100,000, a median average salary of any Indian American in the US, so let's say you're making in Atlanta, then you will be paying state tax, federal tax for sure. So you will be taking home $72,000. But if you're on OPT, you'll be saving up on that $7,600, that is FICA taxes. That includes Medicare and Social Security taxes, you're not allowed to, or you're not required to pay those taxes. So that's why you get $8,000 back, or you just don't pay it. So that's why you will be taking home around $79,000 as compared to $72,000. So that's a loss you have to bear. But anyways, it is good that you will be in a secure position. Now let's talk about the recommended timeline so that you can see the examples. So for me personally, as my OPT I received my OPT on 5th April, but my job started on 13th of July. So in that case, employer in 2021, since I graduated in 2022, I'm talking about 2021 timeline. So let's say that I'm working from last year, July. So on 1st March of 2021, that is this year, my employer will reach out to me. Hey, give me information so that I can apply for H1B lottery. Now, H1B lottery, there's a window opening. So window is open from 1st March to 20th March. So in this opening, you just have to give your basic information like I-94 or something like that, and then your name will be given to the H1B lottery. And I think last year around 200,000 people applied for the lottery. I want to add on that there are two pools, 65,000 pool of lottery and 20,000 pool of lottery, and undergraduate students have 15 to 20% less chances of H1B visa because they have only access to 65,000 pool, but master's students have access to both pools, so higher chances of getting visa. Now after 20th March, when people got picked up, H1B gets stamped if you get picked up in the lottery around October. So now here comes the travel ban again, because when you are applying for H1B lottery, you are given 2 travel bans. So my company told me that there could be 2 travel bans because as soon as you submit your application, you're giving your I-94 information. It is recommended that you cannot leave US until you get your H1B. And here, a lot of things you have to keep in mind. So first of all, I think they don't tell you what's the probability of you getting an H1B, but let's consider it as 30% or something. So let's say that you get into the lottery, but still you have to apply for post-completion OPT. So I talked about, that OPT, your work permit can be extended from 1 to 3 years. You have to apply for it. So before your EAD card is expiring, so 3 months before, so let's say mine is expiring in July. So 3 months before will be around, that was April, I will apply for my next year OPT, because I know that even if I get picked up, it is important to be safe, because H1B will be processed in October. So if I somehow, if the process gets messed up, so there are like a lot of complications. For example, RFE. If in this process, my employer or I accidentally give incorrect information, maybe in my name or in my address, then they can ask for request for more evidence, which is RFE, and in that case my H1B can be delayed or cancelled. So that's why it's important to be safe and apply or ask for OPT extension. And in this process, the travel ban, I can tell you that my travel ban will happen only when I apply for H1B. So for example, let's say the window is open from 1st March 20th March. As soon as I apply for H1B lottery on maybe 18th March, then the travel ban starts. Not before. I think it is recommended not to travel, but in case you travel, I cannot guarantee that you will be, your H1B will be cancelled or your process will be messed up. But I'm just telling you what is recommended. Now let's move on. So last year, or you can say in 2019, till 2019, the process was just strange for H1B. It was like you have to send all your information like passport, your entire package, and you are applied for H1B. And in October, close to October, you get to know whether you got H1B as well as whether you got picked up in lottery as well. But now it is improved and it's much better than before, because now first lottery will happen, because lottery is, it's luck. So you don't have to make your entire package with full of information and work hard for the lottery. Now you'll have to work hard only after you get selected in the lottery. So now most of this is like, housekeeping stuff, because most of this is gonna be done by your employer. All you have to do is wait and give information and consider the travel ban which is imposed on you. So you cannot get out of United States, and just give your correct information. And here are some dates about the pool as well. So you will get, as per current process, you will get to know around 31st March that whether your name got picked up in H1B lottery or not. So employer will be able to tell you within a week, maybe like 7th April, they will tell you, hey, your name got picked up in H1B lottery. Now let's get started with the process. But later on, it is not 100% secure because it can be, messed up in RFV, or it can still lead to H1B denial. So you're not 100% secure. So you must apply for next year of OPT. So once your name get picked up in H1B lottery, there are two options you have. Number one, premium processing. Number two is general processing. For premium processing, you have to pay $1,500 more. Do you know why? Because H1B usually takes 3 months or more. So as I told you, you get usually your H1B around 1st October. That means you are starting your same job on H1B rather than on OPT. So now considering how fast you usually get your H1B, so here are some of the dates. So on average, people who applied in California, the fastest approved case was in 2 months and 1 day, and the slowest was 4 months. So some people got it in December, some people got it in October. So it clearly depends. And now, what conditions you should pay that $1,500 to get premium processing? I personally think you should get premium processing only if it is your last attempt of getting into the H1B lottery or getting that H1B visa. So if it is your last attempt, what you can do is just pay $1,500 in the process. I think I cannot tell you the process, it's written on their website. So then you should use premium processing. Otherwise, you don't have to, because you have 2 more chances of getting into H1B lottery. So that's what I feel. It's just my research. Do your research as well. Now moving on. So there are 2 other ways of getting H1B as well. So most of you guys will be doing change of status. So change of status means F1 visa to H1B. But some cases, some companies might be doing consular services as well. So I can tell you the bigger difference. So the bigger difference is, in case of consular service, you have to go back to your home country, in case it could be India, to get your H1B stamped and come back to US to start working or to continue working. But in case of change of status, what happens is, like, company gets you everything. With the lawyer, they just magically get things done. You will stay in the US in your position, and they will just say, hey, your H1B got stamped, and just start work. Not stamped, but got H1B got approved, no RFE after the lottery, and just start working. So that's just amazing. And there could be more into consular service or change of status. You can do research, because I'm just talking about change of status because most of the international students go through change of status. And make sure you check with your employer as well. And one more thing about premium processing, that even though you're paying $1,500 more to get your H1B ready in 15 days as compared to 3 months, it doesn't guarantee that it will be approved. So it doesn't mean that you will not get RFE or you will not get H1B denial. So you have to keep that in mind. So do not waste your $1,500 in premium processing. And other fact is that in case you pay $1,500 and they are not able to get things done in 15 days, you may get your money refunded as well. So just use this opportunity if this is your last attempt of getting H1B. So that's all the information I know, and I'm still going through the process. So if you think that this video was helpful, let me know. And if I did any mistake in giving you any information, just let me know in the comments as well. I'll try to improve upon in the next time. And if you have more suggestions, let me know in the comments as well. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.